Indiana 72, Purdue 67. This is now a three-game losing streak for Purdue. This is Darren DeVries's first statement win of his career at Indiana, 1-0 in the rivalry, and hopefully for the Hoosiers, a sign of things to come in big games. For Purdue, a real moment of reflection, I think, a real moment of where do we turn? Back is as against the wall as it can go. We thought that coming into this game, and obviously the response was not what it needed to be. So, plenty of questions. We will get through it all. This video is brought to you by Tinker Coffee. Go to tinkercoffee.com and our promo code Sleepers get 15% off your first order of the Midwest best, Indy's finest. Feel like Hoosier fans might be hungover this morning. Maybe need a little pick me up with coffee. Purdue needs a wake up coffee right now. Luckily, Tinker has both.
Yeah, they do. And if you want to make sure that you have Tinker in your household at all times, set up a recurring order, get an extra 25% off. Use promo code Sleepers over at tinkercoffee.com. Make sure you always have it stocked in your household, whether you need it for a little pick-me-up, whether you need it to curb that celebration you had last night or something like that. Shout out to the Zing Blend. That's my current favorite. Tinker Coffee is always in Carter Elliott's cup. Never have to worry about that. But yeah, more important things at hand here, Gregory. It truly is gut check, look in the mirror, figure it out time for Purdue.
Yep. I got the Zing blend behind me. I got the Puebla. I got the Hambella. And then this looks like a new blend here. I believe this is the Guard Connor Enright blend.
Mm.
It looks like this will help you get out on the perimeter and put even a semi-respectable hand up on Connor Enright. So I'll mail that to West Lafayette. Maybe that'll get
Wait
there.
a minute. Hold on. What do I see another blend back there?
What's that?
Is it the Kurt Cinetti is a witch blend?
It could be the Kurt Signetti as a witch
We'll
blend.
address that eventually. I think Kurt Cinetti's a witch.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Our MO all season long has been start with the winning team. I think we can do that. Indiana, Nick Dorn, Ken Palm MVP, 18 points. Lamar Wilkerson, 19 points. Tucker DeVries, 1 point off of a double-double. 3 for 7 from three. Overall, as a team, you hit 12 threes. That was five more than Purdue. That's 36% from three. We know they bomb them. This was not a red hot, lights out, scorched earth shooting performance. But I think the more deserving team won the game. And I think there's a lot of coming to terms right now on just what that means for everybody involved in this game on both sides. I mean, there's quotes at the post game from players on Purdue and Painter himself that I think reflect a lot of just, this is unacceptable. We don't feel that what we brought to this game, intensity and effort wise, was enough. Um, we'll talk through a lot of those when we get to the Purdue side of this, but just from an Indiana standpoint, I think you and I coming into this game would have said if Indiana gets a 5 point win, they must have shot the lights out. There must have been a Keaton Wagler esque night or a Donovan Dent esque night where they just dismantled Purdue schematically. I didn't see that happen. At the same time, Indiana 100% deserved this win. How do you analyze that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple ways to look at it. I think, first of all, looking at the first 20 minutes of this game, I think it was very clear that the Indiana Hoosiers wanted this game a lot more, which was probably the most disappointing part, I think, coming out of this basketball game. Just because I feel like we addressed that Purdue did have their back against the wall coming into this game. And yes, they're on the road at Assembly Hall, but this was kind of a back against the wall. We're staring at a three-game losing streak dead in the eye here. And for Indiana to be the team that I thought was more aggressive, I thought that they showed better effort. I thought mentally they made less mistakes in that first half, especially as far as defensive and things like that. I think it's credit to Indiana for coming out in the first half and really, I think, kind of just taking it to Purdue, quite frankly. Purdue was struggling on the offensive end. They were struggling with defensive switches and things like that. And I thought that Indiana took advantage of them in those moments, whether it was if they went under a screen on Tucker DeVries or there was a miscommunication on a handoff. They took that little bit of space and they took that little bit of opportunity and they took advantage of it. And then even outside of that for Indiana, I think that in rivalry games or in high intensity games like this, you look for other guys outside of your main guys to step up, right? And no, Lamar was only 7 for 18, 2 of 9 from three. He was good in this basketball game, so they'll hit some big ones. Tucker DeVries was, I've been dogging on him a lot lately, and he didn't shoot the best in this game. But to be honest with you, his effort on the glass showed me everything that I feel like, seen in these past couple games. He was incredible on the glass. Had 10 rebounds in his basketball game, the most rebounds out of anybody in this basketball game, which I never would have thought coming into this one. But, you get those two guys to play sort of kind of, maybe a little bit below their level, but at their level as well. But you have guys like Nick Dorn step up. Reed Bailey in a game where I thought he was going to get stuffed in a locker gives you 9 and 2, which felt like a lot more given in the moment what he was able to do and then what he was able to also do defensively in this basketball game, which I just did not see coming. I pointed out Nick Doran, you did as well. He was massive in this basketball game, 4 of 9 from three. I thought he really took advantage of, I mean, the matchups. It seemed like a good amount of times he had like guys like Fletch on him, and I thought he was able to take advantage of that matchup. There was late closeouts and he knocked down threes, but I think in games like this, you need other guys to step up and hit shots. And typically, Purdue is a team where you have the other guys step up and have moments in games like this. But it was the Indiana Hoosiers who I thought, had guys hit big shots at moments and make big plays in a lot of these moments. And, you know, even a team that, you come out looking at this game, they lose the rebounding battle by 5. For an Indiana team against this team, that feels like they won.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought guys made plays on the Hoosier side, and I think everybody deserves credit. I think Darren DeVries deserves credit. I think he had his guys ready. I know we've criticized Tucker a lot. Thought this was one of Tucker's best games of the season, even though it was only 9 points. I just thought, he ends the game as the leading rebounder. He has 10 defensive rebounds in this game. Purdue as a team had 9 offensive rebounds. Paint said it after. They should have smoked him on the boards, in his opinion. At the stretch run of this game, you couldn't even play Oscar Clough on the floor. And he just wasn't dominating on the boards the way I think he could have. Trey Kaufman-Ren finished with 3 rebounds in 28 minutes. They were the tougher basketball team. At every single position, they were the tougher basketball team. And Purdue has to come to terms with that. Like I said, I have a lot of thoughts. I'm doing my best to stay patient on this because, yeah, I got to be honest. Indiana fans may get real upset with me for kind of going this route. Indiana's not a very tough basketball team. I mean, we got 2.5 months of data on this.
They were in this one.
But in this game, they were a lot tougher than the opponent. And
Mhm.
look, call it getting up for a rivalry game. Give DeVries credit for coaching. Give credit to the players. I'd like to give a bunch of credit to the players. But I also think it's important to realize, like, you look at that Illinois game and you lose if you're Purdue. Okay, maybe the best point guard in the sport in the freshman class, maybe the best scorer in the conference goes for 46. That was a special performance from a special player. Okay, you
Mhm.
look at UCLA. Well, it's a road trip. It's tough. Donovan Dent is one of the best point guards in the country. That was a special performance from a special player. With all due respect, a special performance from Lamar Wilkerson would have been 30. A special performance from Tucker DeVries would have been a triple double. There was nothing special about this. And that's where, I actually am not going to be on the ledge when I get to the Purdue portion of this. I'm not sky is falling, world is over. But the pill to swallow here, the hard dose to swallow, is that there wasn't anything spectacular here. It was
I, the only thing I would say, nothing spectacular. But I think the defensive effort, I think was like, that's kind of the moment of this game. The defense and what they were able to do on the glass. It wasn't really spectacular offensive moments. It was the fact that they held the number 2 offense in the country to 67 points.
for sure. It was
Yeah,
a
given
great
given
performance.
given how bad Indiana has been defensively. Now, you could do that. You could do that. That's twofold here, right? Like, I'm Purdue. I'm one of the best offenses in the country. I scored 67 against this Indiana team. That's pretty nuts. That's an issue. But I do want to just give a little bit of credit to Indiana on the defensive side. I guess that it's not a spectacular performance, but like that is like the special part, I guess, of this.
They deserve a ton of credit. I'm not trying to say they don't deserve credit or that wasn't impressive. I'm very impressed with the intensity, the effort, the focus, the scheme, the readiness, the all of it. And like they outplayed Purdue. I'm
Mhm.
just I want people to realize there are no more excuses after this one, right? And I think people do realize that. But, I to me, even with these effort, intensity, defensive questions, whatever you want to call it, the last two stories of the losses for Purdue have been, well, that was a pretty special performance. Like a
Mhm.
great player played great.
Yeah, I hear you.
Indiana played good. Indiana played like they did what they do, and it was better than Purdue. And Indiana is still, after this win, a bubble team. So we've got to kind of come to terms with that. We got outplayed by a bubble team in a game with a lot of emotions, and that's got to be hard to stomach. At the same time, Indiana deserves a ton of credit for it. I think there is a world, Lamar Wilkerson went 2 for 9 from three. He's a better shooter than that. There's a world he's 6 for 9 from three, and this game's a blowout. Like Tucker
Yeah,
DeVries had 9 points, didn't attempt a shot inside the arc. And if there was one guy who had a little aberration offensively game in this game, it was Nick Dorn. And he's been brilliant lately, so I don't even want to call it an aberration. He's hit four or more threes in 3 straight games. I think it's really safe to say when they didn't have Dorn at the beginning of the season, this team was not nearly as potent offensively as they are now.
Mhm.
I mean, now not only do you have to deal with Tucker and Lamar, but if you lose track of Nick Dorn, which I thought Purdue lost track of him repeatedly, he's going
Yeah,
to be able to spray 4, 5, 6 threes on you.
yeah, 100%.
Shooting 45% from three this year is Dorn. Kempon player comp. Max Hooper from Oakland. Trevin Nell. Luke Goody.
So Nick Dorn has hit four or more threes in his last three games,
Yep.
and we're closing out short, and we're losing them off handoffs.
Yep.
Okay, noted.
Yep. We'll talk about Purdue's defense in a moment. I actually do have a pick for who I thought the MVP of this game was for Indiana, and it is not Nick Dorn who got the Ken Pom MVP. Do you have any guesses who I'm going to say was the MVP in this game?
Reed Bailey?
I can't believe I am saying this. Connor Enright, I thought, was the story of this game.
Oof.
Can I give an emotional pitch on behalf of what impressed me so much from Connor Enright?
Yeah.
Starting point here. Tate Connerway doesn't play.
Mhm.
Indiana's point guard is out. He is, I think, the most important element of Indiana's quote unquote toughness. And we're
Mhm.
talking this team out toughed Purdue tonight. Telling me that they were going to do that without Tate Connerway would have been unfathomable to me before this game. Connerway is the guy that leads to tough moments from this team. He's out. I understand there's going to be one person out there who will tell us that, well, Purdue would have won by double digits if Connerway played. But if we could live in reality for just a moment here, this was an enormously tough ask of Enright. This is what he was asked to do in this game: play 40 minutes, guard Braden Smith for 40 minutes, 39, because Braden went to the bench for 1 minute in this game. Really, just kind of play point guard for us
Mhm.
because our typical floor general is not here. And they were running a ton of off ball stuff for Tucker and Lamar. It wasn't like the Keaton Wagler get the ball to Lamar and set him a ball screen and get out of his way. This was like, no, we think we can exploit Purdue defensively with off ball action. So if you're going to run off ball action for those guys, you need a point guard. And for Indiana to be able to look the way they looked in this game without their point guard against the guy that I believe is the best point guard in America. And it was just Enright's matchup. I mean, this was Connor Enright versus Braden Smith in Assembly Hall. And I don't want to say Enright won the matchup because he finished with 8 and 8. It was a great game, but at minimum, Braden struggled offensively more than he has in a month.
Mhm.
I mean, when has Braden, and part of this is guys around him making shots, but 4 turnovers to 5 assists?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, they said it last night. Braden in Big Ten play shooting like 57% from the field.
And I thought it got to a point where Braden pressed a little bit, and we'll talk about that. But the bottom line is this: Braden felt the sense of this moment, said, I got to go do this for us. And barring that one behind the back play late where he, kept it within 7 at that point, Enright was just up for the challenge. Every single play of this game was contested. It was tough. I thought he wore down Braden as much as Braden wore down anybody on Indiana. And I mean, to end the game with 8 assists to 3 turnovers, when Braden effing Smith finished with 5 assists to 4 turnovers, this is Connor Enright we're talking about without Tate Connerway. It's the most impressive thing I saw from Indiana last night.
Yeah, and even outside of that, with all that too, he hits the shot. That like, what I'm saying? Like there was a lot of threes missed on Purdue's end when they had big time shots when they're trying to get back in this game, and Connor Enright shut the door. And even a little thing, I know I'm pretty sure he's a good free throw shooter if I'm not mistaken, but like Tucker DeVries is an 84% 3-point free throw shooter. He goes to the line and misses two front ends. Things are like, oh, you're having that thought in the back of your head, like, oh no, like we got guys getting a little caught up in the moment. He hits the three. He gets two free throws after getting fouled. He knocks down both free throws. He was just, I mean, for 40 minutes he was nails, basically.
Yeah, and I mean he's been better than we've given him credit. Like clearly he's been better than we've given him credit for. I think we called him Gabe Cups at points earlier in the year when he was really struggling. He's had some loud games in conference play, including that Maryland game where he was pretty amazing. But I just this is the toughest ask he's going to have ever in his basketball career. I don't know where Connor Enright goes from here. I don't know if it's Europe. I don't know if it's somehow to the G League. I don't know if he'll get a 7th year of eligibility and a court ruling will allow him to stay in Bloomington. I don't know if he'll go to Deloitte and have great Thursday morning 6 a.m. runs. Either way, he will never be asked to do something harder than he was asked to do in this game. And
Mhm.
he knocked it out of the park, 100 out of 100.
Yeah. And even post game, he's the one he's talking about like his brother went to Purdue. He knows this rivalry. He delivered. He'll forever hold this one. I think people at Enright Family Christmas and Thanksgiving are gonna get livid when you hear about this game 9 straight holidays in a row from Connor.
Yeah. Yep. I completely agree. That stretch in the first half, because you talked about Indiana kind of jumping on Purdue a little bit. It was actually a 1 point Indiana lead early, 10 minutes in, 17-16. Purdue's largest lead of the game was actually 23-19 with 7 minutes left in the first half. From 23-19 with 7 minutes left in the first half, we ended that half with a 21-6 run for Indiana in the final 7 minutes of the first half. During that stretch, I'll be honest, this is a hand up. If you listen to the full episode of the Sleepers Pod this morning, you know this. I was booked to do a Bleacher Report live stream of the UConn Providence game during the first 30 minutes of this game. So I had it on in the background and I was paying as much attention as I could, but I had to go back and watch highlights this morning to figure out exactly what was going on. You were blowing my phone up like we have a serious problem right now. I can't believe what I'm seeing. So what did you see in that 7 minute stretch where Indiana went 21-6 against Purdue? Really the stretch that I think decided the game. What
Hmm.
what happened?
I thought that first and foremost, Indiana was one competing on the glass and two getting to every ball first. I was, and during that run, even, you know, I feel like when Purdue tried to stop it, it was like Braden getting on the floor. And even though they didn't get the ball, it was like I only saw one person from Purdue hit the floor when there was a ball. And meanwhile, Indiana was getting to every loose ball. Even outside of that, they were competing on the glass. And then the most obvious thing to me watching that first half, the defensive breakdowns on this team are insane, G. Like it's so frustrating to watch. And I can see it happening in real time. Like I'm talking like 4 seconds before it happens. I'm like, they look like they are out of sorts. They don't look like they know what they're doing. They look like half the guys are switching, half the guys are hedging. You even asked me, you're like, what are they doing in ball screen coverage? I'm like, I don't, it kind of looks like switching, but also like they're doing dribble handoffs and guys are just, you know, relaxing, standing straight up on the pass, and all of a sudden Nick Dorn's catching the ball in the corner, shooting it. Or we go under a screen and Lamar Wilkerson pulls up and shoots it. The one that I think put them up, I think 11 was Jakari like coming down to help on Reed Bailey and leaving Tucker DeVries wide open in the corner. It's just the defensive principles and the communication were just downright awful in the first half. And then also at the same time it was being awful, it's both guys that are messing up on the communication looking at each other like this, like what, or heads going down, or looking at each other, like the dropping of the shoulders. The body language was extremely bad. It was like, woe is me, this is happening again. What's going on here? And I did think there was some really good shot making from Indiana, don't get me wrong. But if you're going to go under screens and you're going to go under screens on guys that are knocking down shots and you're not going to be up on the screen. I know there was a Lamar Wilkerson three where they did switch, but your feet were inside the 3-point line on Lamar Wilkerson. They really are extremely lucky Lamar didn't hit more threes than he hit in this basketball game for what it's worth. That's what's the scary part about this. So, I mean, it had the look of a team that was youthful, I guess is a word to use. Like a team that had just started playing together and they weren't communicating and the defensive switches weren't there. It was really shocking to see. That's why I texted you. I was like, yeah, there's a problem right now with what's going on, and it should be simple stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't look simple at all for these guys right now. And yeah, it's hard to really process it when you frame it through the lens of their full careers. These guys, the players on the court for Purdue, at least the heart of the team, the three of them, have played more minutes together than basically any other trio in the country. In the NIL era, Michigan State's probably the only team they'll see that matches that level of we've been through the battles, we know each other, we've played together, and it just doesn't look cohesive on either end right now. And it's easy to kind of overly, I don't know, over speculate. What's going wrong? Is it frustration? Is it just slumping guys? Are they not seeing eye to eye? I know there's being conversations being made of like, we need a players only meeting. It's time to up the intensity and call each other out. I think the hard part with that, like, sure, you're right. There need to be tough conversations this week. Painter's approach at the podium was a lot different than we've ever heard him, and we'll talk about that. But I think the hard part with any sort of come to Jesus, save the season conversation moment here is that's not who these guys are. It's just not who these guys are. Like that is not, if you know them as people, and we are very fortunate to be able to know one of them as a person. This is not who Braden is to go get in his teammates' faces and let's break something in the locker room and damn it, we need to be better. Maybe he'll decide he needs to play that role and do it. I don't know. I trust him, but that's just not who he is. He'll tell you that's not who he is. It's never been who he is. I don't think that's who Trey is. Clearly, and I don't know what's up with him mentally right now, but I just don't think either one of the quote unquote two best players on this team are that guy to lead a players only meeting and have it resonate. Maybe honestly, if there was a way for that to happen, you know how it happens? The two of them together. The two of these guys that oftentimes look as if they aren't seeing eye to eye, that have been notoriously lead by example guys, kind of saying, you know what, we've seen enough. This is our legacies on the line. We need to fix this. But it just seems like a hard ask of those two.
Well, it's something I came away asking in the first half too, because I think there was a lot of people discussing the same thing you're talking about, like, oh, this needs to be a team thing. To me, this is on the guys that have played 100 straight games together or whatever that number is. Like TKR, Fletcher, Braden. That's the three. That's who needs to set the tone. They need to set the tone. They need to lead by example. And you know what? I'm being nitpicky here. I think that everyone else will agree. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Obviously, there might be some, you could say, I could see people saying there's biases associated with what I'm about to say. But as far as showing that extra want, hustle, good body language, I thought Braden was the one to set the tone on that in the
Mhm.
first half, even with them being down.
In the
And
second half, too. I mean,
even in the
again,
second,
we're not trying to go to war for our guy, but as they're down 10 with 4 minutes left, there were multiple plays that were either hustle plays and or that behind the back in transition three. and or he had like multiple straight assists to TKR. TKR got put on the ground at one point, and we have seen visibly frustrated Braden. It
Mhm.
would have been really easy for like loud, visible frustrations from Braden last night. I thought he was very composed on a him scale.
Yeah.
Like, were there still some moments? Yes, but on the history of Braden Smith body language scale, last night I thought he was a force for good for the most part.
And there was a sense of urgency,
Yeah,
like even the moment I remember in the second half is, um, there's guys passing up threes, and Benter passed up a wide open three to throw it inside to DJ, and Braden looked at him like, shoot the ball.
yeah,
And that, I mean, to me though, once again, I think that the three players that are the leaders and the best players on this team set the tone. And it's a theory I'm looking at, and I don't even know if it's fair. But like a couple plays before that, Fletcher Lawyer passes up a three and goes in and falls. Now Jack Benter's passing up threes. Or, in the first half, TKR was kind of turning the ball over. And though he was good in this game, we can talk. I'm not even here to say anything bad about TKR, but he did have some turnover issues in the first half. He had one defensive rebound in this basketball game, but he was money in that second half as far as scoring the basketball. You'd hope he'd be a little bit better from the free throw line, and just be better on the glass in a game that was as close as it was. I don't think he actually even got a rebound in the second half, when there were moments when they could have got them. I think about the one that bounced off the glass, ends up going underneath. All of a sudden, Trent Sisley with point 0.6 on the shot clock somehow gets loose, and Braden fouls him. So it's just little moments like that and little things that are happening with this team. And it's like I said at the start of this, it's kind of gut check time at this point, and guys need to figure it out, look within. I'm not one, I'll say this: teams that I have been on that have had players only meetings, it's not the end all be all. Sometimes it's just sometimes it's bad guys having a players only meeting, and then it's just, hey guys, be better, we got to fix this. But it's about actually doing it and setting the tone. And I think that it starts with the best three players on the team.
yes, it does. It's obviously gut check time. The problem is they know that. The problem is it was gut check time coming into this game.
Right.
This is not an out of nowhere we lost to Indiana. It was
That's
gut
what
check time coming into this game.
that's what's disappointing, and that's what
Right.
heated my text to you in that first half, that we have an issue.
Right.
I didn't see a team that is coming off two losses. And also, by the way, even looking at things in a little box here, some freshmen just came in and lit y'all ass up for 46.
Right.
And now we're still having defensive communication issues. Not checking issues, Greg. Communication things.
Right.
Closing out slow. Closing out, closing out slow or going under screens on Nick Dorn. But Josiah Miles, who I think has hit 4 threes all season, he's probably shooting like 20%. We're closing out on him like he's Steph Curry, and he drives past us. It's just little mental things and defense communication with this team that is just way off.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Let's get to the Purdue portion of this, and I think there's a lot here. I don't know how long we'll be here, but there's a lot here. I think last thing on the idea of if there's a players only meeting to come or something. One of my psychoanalysis fears here is that the guy most likely to hold the players only meeting on this team right now is Fletcher.
Hmm.
Fletcher's the one who's saying everything Paint's saying at the podium. He's the extension of Paint. He is the vocal leader. Everyone has acknowledged that for 4 years. Braden and Trey have both been like, yeah, that's not me. We let Fletch do that. So if there were to be a, hey, everyone in here an hour before practice, it's going to be Fletch calling it.
Hmm.
And given his current form, I mean, it is indefensible, his current form. You're right. Whatever you want to call it, unacceptable. Back to our convo from the other day.
We're not using that
Um,
word anymore.
listen, I still 100% believe that Fletcher's going to snap out of this and start making shots. Um, his loud moments tonight were terrible. The travel where he lost his feet, he slipped and threw the ball up is obviously like
Should have
a
been a three too.
hilarious play. It should have been a three.
Should have been a three.
think he's overthinking it. I also do want to point out he went 2 for 6 from three. That is terrible for Fletcher Lawyer. People are also acting like he went 0 for 6 from three.
Mhm.
Like, so okay, if he doesn't make half his threes now, he can't shoot because people are tagging me like, "What do you have to say? The slump continues." He went 2 for 6 from three, dude. Braden went 2 for 8. Like 2 for 6 is not the slump we've seen. And I'm not saying he's out of the slump. He should shoot 3 for 6, but I can't do this every game. If every game he doesn't make 50% of his threes, I'm like he's under a microscope. That sucks. But he is. That's where we're at because he slumped for a month, so he's under a microscope. So now we're looking at everything else he does on the basketball court, and there's a lot of bad happening right now. I get it.
And they're
But
looking at and unfortunately given the slump too. And I look, Hummel even said it on the podcast. He's like, you know what, Fletcher, he's done this. Now this is the longest one that I can remember, but he's going to break out. He's a better shooter than this. That's really what it is. But I think now people are, to your point, with the slump that's going on, the level that's going on, they are, I probably the wrong word, but like psychoanalyzing it. It now it's like, you know, the types of threes that he's getting. They're for Fletcher Lawyer, they are such great looks. That's what probably makes it a little bit more, like then, in the game yesterday, I think Fletch hit his first or second one in the first half, right? You're like, all right, he's like 1 for 2 now. He's getting some good looks. We're gonna start feeling good. They get the ball underneath, they foul him, and Fletcher shoots it and hits one, and you're like, all right, he's feeling good, even though it didn't count. And then he proceeds just to miss his next four in the half, and it's just like, here we are again. And yeah, eventually, like you said, he's got to break out of it. I mean, he has to. He's a better shooter than that. We say that every recap now, it feels like, but like at a certain point, everyone knows this. Fletch knows it. He's just gotta play better.
yeah, but I think that's like in terms of the mentals of this team because there's the basketball side, which is what is going wrong on the basketball court, and then there's the emotional mental side of is something inherently broken in this locker room. um First of all, no, I don't think there is anything broken in the locker room. I think the problems with this team are all basketball related. I really do. And I understand why people think there's more here. I really do. I get it. um to me, there's just not. And I'll speak more on kind of what this means and what's sinking in as you sort of have to come to terms with where this basketball team is currently at in this year. However, the only emotional concern thing I have right now is that if there is going to be this come to Jesus players team thing, it's going to be led by Fletcher, and that won't go over well. It's just you can't hear the messages from the guy that is the most obvious part of the problem.
Mhm.
And again, I would fight that he's not even part of the problem, but nobody would fight this. Fletcher's been a disaster on defense. He's playing terribly. He's not doing his job. The guy that's not doing his job cannot be the guy that calls the team together and figure out how to do your job. So I'm worried about it. That's my thing. When we hear all these important people saying like, well, they gotta hash it out. It's on the players to fix this. You're right. If there's gonna be any sort of moment like that, the only way for it to work to me is if we somehow get Braden and Trey, who both actively do not like to be this guy, doing it together and sharing the burden of that. And are they capable of that? I think they are. I mean, I think these guys both want it equally bad.
Yeah, and I think it'll go a long way too. Like it coming to a point, players only meetings are usually boiling points, right? Like that's when you have that moment where shit is really going bad.
Yeah.
And if it's go and in my mind, I'm a guy outside of the big three. I'm like, oh, this is going so bad. We even got TKR saying something right now, or like guys that don't, Braden is saying something right now. I expect Fletch to say something. It's Fletch. But if
Yeah.
it's coming from those guys, I think it'll be a little different. And, I think both those guys too, Braden and TKR, they got this level of intensity about them. Braden's got that little psycho gene to him. I think if he can just harness that and put that into like a moment in this meeting, I think that could do well. And also TKR as well. I feel like they need to get everything out there because I like that TKR picked it up in this game, picked it up in the second half. To start this game, I was once again wondering, is he okay? Like he was just doing like the wild shit. And I'm just like, why are we just plowing over people? Why are we doing the things that we did like when we were talking junk to Merck early on. And I don't know, it was just odd to see.
So I have a theory on that side of this, but
Is that just the frustration of like what's happening in the game or the frustration of like being in the spot they're in?
the, I gotta say just before I give the answer on this, because anytime body language stuff is floated, I love to be the body language PhD. I like to have these conversations, and I do think they matter more than people make it out to be. However, I also want to sit here and realize we're 40 minutes into a recap, 10 minutes into the Purdue side of things, and basically the whole conversation has been that stuff. Psychoanalysis is not the main concern for me with this team. So I'm happy to sit here for an hour and do it. And I have a theory on what's going on with Trey right now. But I just want to make it clear to people. I don't think this is the story of this team. I don't think all these things we're just talking about right now, because organically our conversation got there. That's not why they're where they're at. That's not what I think is going to ultimately decide the fate of the season. It's just part of this, and it's an observation as we try to cover what's going on in these games. My theory with Trey right now is this. I think in an effort from Trey Kaufman-Ren to come to terms, accept, and impact this team the way he needs to within the role on this team, I think somewhere along the way he got it in his mind that he needs to be Mr. Do the little things, Mr. Tough, Mr. Dennis Rodman of sorts. Almost, I need to play a toughness character for this team. And I don't think that's necessarily who he is. I'm not saying he's not a tough guy, but I'm trying to wrap my brain around what has changed from the player last year to this guy who is so demonstrative this year. My answer is just, well, he's asked to play in a weird spot. He must have wrapped his brain around, hey, I'm not the 20-point scorer anymore on this team. So what am I for this team? On a team with Oscar Clough, who's a better rebounder than me, bigger than me, finishing at the rim better than me, what do I do? What is my role? And I think somewhere along the way, credit to him, unselfishly, he was like, you know what? My role is toughness. My role is, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, stir the pot, be the animated guy, be the emotional on the court driver of dog mentality for this team. And I think it's almost, I don't want to say intentional, but I think most of these moments that are happening, if you notice them, Cart, they happen at the beginning of games.
Yeah.
It's like he is intentionally coming into games like that's part of what I'm supposed to bring. And
Hmm.
I do think, as we've covered in past games, I think it's hurt the team more than it's helped. On this game, it was not a good first half from Purdue. Trey, I thought, was great. I know there are people mad about the free throw shooting, and you'll point out the rebounding. It was bad. Sure, he needs to rebound better. But this was last year, Trey. And people loved last year, Trey. This was last year, Trey, to a T.
Hmm.
And I think, he had the missed floater. The one floater he shot was crazy. But I think people somewhere got it warped a little bit what he was last year. He missed floaters last year, too. He's
Hmm.
shooting 59% from two. Last year, he's shooting 58% from two this year. He hasn't changed fundamentally. It's just the role and what he's asked to do has changed. And last night they went small. They put Clough on the bench. I think it was the right move. It honestly inspires some optimism in me for down the stretch with how they played late with those lineups. But it's weird because Trey is visibly frustrated. I do think that's been an issue. At the same time, I thought he was Purdue's best player in this game. And ultimately, it didn't really matter. You know what I mean? I don't know what we do with it right now.
Yeah. I mean, look, I just think that, you're not getting it's just here's the thing in moments like this when things are going bad, like with Fletcher, everything just gets put in this little, you look at things in just this little box. It's the missed floaters, it's the free throws, it's even the moment that I pointed out where I was like, that I thought he could have ended up with that rebound off the glass and it ends up being the Trent Sisley thing underneath, or um, you know, even little moments where honestly I was kind of mad at Paint TKR misses 2 free throws and you take him out of the game. I get it, like but he was a big part of the second half of what was going on. All momentum got sucked out by the 2 free throws being missed, and then also you compounded by taking them out. And I thought that Indiana proceeded to go on a little run in that second half. So, yeah, it was just, yeah, I think it was last year, TKR. I think people obviously, you know, want to afterwards analyze that they lost like a five, well, they lost by five, and TKR missed went 5 of 10 from the free throw line. He also missed what, 3 shots in this basketball game? What, five? Missed 5 shots, and people were going to psychoanalyze the five he missed, but like, yeah, I don't know. The bigger issue to me was that in 29 minutes, he had 3 rebounds, and all 3 of those rebounds came in the first half, and only one of those rebounds was a defensive rebound against Indiana.
Yeah, right. Right. The rebounding's a real problem.
There's not a world where Tucker DeVries and Reed Bailey should be able to hang on the glass
Right.
against the team. That's insanity.
The rebounding's a real problem, but it's also I know they covered it different. I still think it's tied into what they're being asked to do on the perimeter. And I sort of mentioned it after the UCLA game. In this league, once one team figures out what the thing is to beat you, every other team exploits it in the way that's best for them. And what's been put on full display in these last 3 games for Purdue is that their bigs cannot move their feet, cannot guard in space at all. And that's plural. That goes for Clough. That goes for TK. That goes for Daniel Jacobson, I think. Goes for like there are no players on this roster that I think are going to thrive in those settings with what Purdue wants to do defensively. Now in this game, I think Indiana, again, they did more off-ball action than they did on-ball from what I saw. But
Hmm.
it was still, asking Trey, especially when they went small, it was asking Trey to chase and switch, sometimes onto Lamar, sometimes onto Tucker. Matt Painter was really explicit about the first play of the second half being a play where they came out of this big locker room halftime talk inspired. And, that first possession is going to be key. And they just left Connor Enright. And I went back and watched the film. It was a botch switch, and Trey was involved. And I don't know what you do. And it was Trey and Fletcher, by the way. It's two vets again. It's like these guys that should not be having communication issues are the ones that are. But the point is this. If you're trying to figure out, like, damn, why isn't Trey rebounding? Part of that, to me, truly is most of these shot attempts, he's like chasing on the perimeter. And I think that's affecting both him and Clough right now because teams have exploited it. And someone on the Purdue staff's got to figure out a way to avoid this. But I don't know what it is. It really feels like a basketball problem that isn't going away. So I don't know. I also want to give some love to Boilers in the Stands real quick. Go listen to their post-game show if you haven't yet. It's kind of my religious obsession with this. I watched the Purdue game. Then I listened to Craig and Joe and Greg Braggs. And then I honestly, it usually helps form a lot of my thoughts on this stuff. And I thought Craig had a really good point. You watch Purdue defensively right now, all these guys who have played so many minutes together. And it's not just that they're struggling with effort, they are. It's not just that they're struggling with execution, they are. But it's also that they just look lost. They look like they're not communicating. They look confused. They look disconnected. And that's the jarring part for a team built around a trio that's played so much together. And even add CJ Cox into that, who was on the court for 28 minutes in this game. Cox played with these guys all last season. At this point in the year, you've got 4 guys that were your entire team last year. Why do they look so disjointed? Why do they look like a group of individuals that can't execute switches together? Why are they so confused? And I don't know the answer. And it's especially jarring to Craig's point when you watch Purdue do it and make all these mistakes, and then you flip over and you watch Nebraska.
Hmm.
Who, keep in mind, Nebraska has 1 loss on the year. They just should have beaten Michigan without Rank Mast. That team's amazing. They're amazing defensively, and they play a scheme, quite frankly, that asks a lot more of their players than Purdue's does.
Hmm.
It's more complicated, it requires more effort, more stamina, more complexities. And they are elite because of their connectivity, because of their communication, because there's not one possession in a game where Nebraska looks confused or looks like they're on a different page. And part of it that yes, they do have some better defenders too, but they are a team, just quite frankly, the guys that are on the floor, they're not athletic, they're not big, they're not strong. Like I just watched a team built around Price Sanford and Sam Hoiberg put on a defensive clinic, and they do it every night. And I think it's a great, astute point from Craig that there's just no excuse for this. There's no excuse for why this Purdue defense looks so disjointed on the little things centered around these 3 and 4 with CJ involved players.
Right, and it's an elite point by Craig, and a point that I found myself watching. They're not being asked to do anything crazy. They're not reinventing a defensive scheme here or something, G. Like it's switching, it's communicating, it's basketball 101 stuff we're talking about here. Which I think what makes it all more frustrating. And we haven't even talked about the offensive stuff yet, but like it was jarring to watch, especially in the first half last night. The lack of attention to detail
Right,
was crazy because I don't associate Purdue basketball with lack of attention to detail. That's what's even crazier.
right,
This is not a program that's run like that. That's not, and I'm not even trying to big up their defense as like these great defenders. And yeah, they are a little bit, they do have guys that are a little bit slower and smaller. But being slower and smaller shouldn't change how you do the little things and pay attention to details on defense.
right, right,
So, I mean, yeah, just to add to it is a great point.
right. The only thing, and this is not pushback, but the only thing centered around this, like, well, why can't Purdue be as successful as Nebraska with how connected they look? The only thing I just want to point out with that is this. Nebraska does have some individual defenders that are just flat out better defensively as players than than Purdue does.
Hmm.
Like athletically, he's right. He's right. Athletically, just headshots. Look at the listings on the roster, 100%. But Sam Hoiberg is 6 foot, 180 pounds, and he's a better defender than anybody on the Purdue roster.
Hmm.
I don't know why. I don't know if it's because he's a coach's son. I don't know if it's effort. But he is. He's going to be on the all defensive team. He might be the defensive player of the year in this conference, even though he is a 6 foot, 180-pound non athlete. And that's been the scout on him. The only reason he's played minutes for 4 years is because he's an elite defender. Um, Burke is not a good defender, I don't think necessarily, but he's a mobile big. He's a 6'10", 244-pound big that moves like a guard. Purdue doesn't have that. Purdue has 2 7-foot centers that can't move their feet and trip over themselves, and a 6'9" center that isn't playing center. Who
Hmm.
we've known all these issues were well documented for a year ago. So I just want to point that even like Jamarcus Lawrence, and he's not a guy that has been there forever, right? Like Lawrence was at Nebraska for a few years, then went to Rhode Island, then came back to Nebraska. He's a good player, but he's I think an athlete and a toughness guy. He's kind of what CJ Cox is supposed to be for Purdue. And that's just the only distinction I want to make is yes, an unathletic team can be better than this defensively. But also, I do think we're fooling ourselves if we've ever thought for 1 second Fletcher Lawyer and Trey Kaufman-Ren have been good defenders. They haven't been. They've been liabilities defensively in various ways for 3 years. And you've got to, I think, figure out a scheme. If you're going to play those two guys on the court, you've got to figure out what scheme hides it the most. And right now it's on full display. And I don't know what the answer to that is really.
Yeah, well, I think it was something that was kind of glossed over a little bit about this team maybe in the offseason with who they brought in or who left possibly or who's playing right now or who's redshirted. I think that that question is fairly okay to ask here is that you know what, you don't really have those guys. And even got, you know what, like CJ Cox has played like an all Big Ten defensive guy for most of this season. He was part of the defensive problem in this game too at points. Like he had trouble staying in front of people. He had defensive miscommunication too. So, and you know, you also have other guys you want to bring off the bench to be defenders like Jakari. Jakari was a defensive disaster in this basketball game.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a tough
I
pill to swallow.
I think Jakari was minus 18 in 15 minutes.
He was mentally somewhere else.
And I'm not a plus minus guy, but it's just
It looked like minus 18.
in this game, you got half the game, and anytime you were on the floor, you were getting ran off it. The team was. So yeah, I don't know. And I really don't think this is as doom and gloom as it feels, and I will have like a little bit of optimism at the end here. But before I turn to the big picture reasons to not completely jump off the bandwagon, I do want to say this. One thing I think Painter deserves immense criticism for is the Liam Murphy take. What are we doing with that roster spot? We've gotten nothing from one of our two portal ads this year.
Mhm.
Why? And I'm not even. This isn't about Murphy the player. Like I think Murphy is good enough to be at Purdue. I'm also not sitting here advocating for more Liam Murphy minutes because guess what? More Liam Murphy minutes is more of the same defensive problems we're talking about. You can't play Liam Murphy at the four. But I guess what I'm saying is this was kind of my awakening in the middle of this game as we see Paint actually change up his personnel. For the first time in this game in the second half, he said, you know what? Kaufman-Ren to the five. Let's go back to what we did last year. Jack Benter in at the four. Like Clough can't play. That's basically what he said down the stretch. We're not playing Oscar Clough. And I think it was the right move. I think it actually helped open the door for this comeback when they cut the lead from 10 to 2. I think it's partially due to the fact that the team was flying around a little more. TKR was getting going at the five as the center instead of as the four in no man's land. And I think Benter was rebounding really well and flying around. So I think there's hope there. But the point is this. You wasted a spot here. You wasted a spot on a redundant skill set to what you already had on the roster. And Paint spent the entire offseason telling us we want to be the number one offense. We want to be the number one offense. Offense, 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 offense. All we got to do is get a rebounder, and our offense is good enough that we'll win. Maybe you could have used one roster spot on this team on someone that's a plus defender in space with athleticism. And I get a year ago, it was, well, we don't want to use the portal at all. It's a year for development. We want guys to get better. But we shit on his personnel decisions for an entire year because we felt they were wasting a year of the Braden Smith era, not giving him what he needed. He did it again. And no one wants to say it because Oscar Clough was a high-profile ad. He was. And we all, us included, thought that Oscar Clough was enough to fix this team's problems, both on the boards and defensively. We also didn't anticipate that Clough's presence alone would cause some new problems for Trey Kaufman-Ren and potentially for this team defensively, and it has. And to me, if I could summarize this, you would love so much right now the Liam Murphy roster spot that just isn't being used. Just not being used. Would love to use that on a guy that could help this team defensively somewhere, whether it's an athletic five, whether it's a wing defender, whether it's even a guard with athleticism that can get into your shit. This team thought they didn't need it. And that falls on the staff. And if we could criticize them a year ago for those mistakes, I think we are dangerously close. If this does fall off the wagon, if this season ends with no championship and no March run, it will be the story. It will be the story of the 2 years post Zach Edey where Matt Painter couldn't figure out the roster adds that Braden Smith, Trey Kaufman-Ren, and Fletcher Lawyer needed. And part of that story, too, will fall on those three. I know it will. They deserve that. If they're not playing up to the standard, they will. It's going to be their legacy too. But Paint said, you know what? I have three spots, Omer two. I'm getting an international and I'm getting two transfer ads. Coincidentally, all three of them are defensive liabilities.
Yeah, Omer has some defensive breakdowns that were jarring last night.
Just left guys wide open.
Just
And
leaving guys out, helping off the strong side corner. Like once again, basketball 101 stuff, man.
that's the guy card that everyone wants to bench Fletch for. You don't fix your defense at all if you put Omer in the game. You might get other things, but like that's the point. There isn't an answer. There isn't an answer because the guys they got aren't the answer.
Right. And the wild part is, and I'm not even advocating for these guys as great defenders. Two guys left who defend better than a lot of guys on this team, and then quote unquote your best defender is collecting dust on the bench,
Right.
redshirting. So that's Painter's decision. But look, I don't know how this goes. Braden told us straight up that Antoine's a pest defensively. I have a hard time believing that he couldn't help this basketball team. Now that's a lot of hearsay. Practice is practice. I understand that. But I mean, this is three straight games of defensive malpractice.
Yeah.
And you know what? You can come away from the Illinois game like, yeah, well, we scored 80. We just didn't score enough. To your point that you started off this video is what is the excuse in this one? Like, what's the if? There is no ifs in this one.
Yeah, we're out of them. They, to their credit, no one's making excuses.
I agree. I agree.
Players and coaches are very much owning the state of where this is. But
Right.
yeah, I just think if you're looking for what's the big narrative at the end of this, if this really goes south, the narrative for me is going to be Matt Painter's failures in roster building. He knew what his big three was. He thought he fixed it. After last year fell apart because of his failures, he thought he fixed it. He didn't fix it. And like seriously, dude, it's February.
Mm-hmm.
It's about to be February, and he doesn't have it figured out. You know how hard it is to not have a Braden Smith, Fletcher, Lawyer, Trey Kaufman-Ren team figured out?
Right. Like, you're not trying to, like, I'm not trying to just harp on it, but, like, you're not trying to figure shit out with, you know, I'm not even going to throw, like, random players. Like, just, like, picture a certain group of misfits or, like, castaways. You're trying to make all American level players work.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It is shocking that this is occurring with this team with who Matt Painter is as a basketball coach, which is a part of what has occurred these past three games.
Other player quick hitters here, and then I want a couple more big picture things before we close. Player quick hitter number one, PG1, Braden Smith, 14 points on 14 shots. He was 2 for 8 from three, did not get to the free throw line once. 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 4 turnovers. Other than the turnovers and I think a cold shooting night, he was flying around. He was on the floor making plays. This was a 110% effort game for Braden for sure. It also just wasn't enough. And I did think Enright got to him. To me, tell me if you disagree, I thought he was pressing. And I don't mean picking up full court. I mean, like, you're down 8 with 6 minutes left. I just thought we saw kind of like, I have to take this over or we're screwed.
Right.
Which I think from watching it, I think that's what I want. And I think that's what they need. I just also think it's not how he normally plays, and the shots didn't go in this time. So do you agree that it looked like he was pressing a little bit, especially in the second half? And do you think he should be?
Look, I think that it set in what was happening in the moment, and he, you know, I mean, you could see the frustration with guys passing up shots and things like that. So there was a little bit of, you know what, F this. Like, if you're not going to do this, if you're not going to catch the ball, if you're not going to finish, then I am going to I'm going to go do it. And I did think it led to some really, really tough shots, which I think led to a tough shooting night. Some he did hit, some he didn't hit. Also you gotta have guys make shots to get assists, and there wasn't a lot of shot making in this game outside of TKR. And he did have a couple of assists to TKR. He also threw it to TKR, and TKR took four dribbles and then scored. So, yeah, not the best shooting night, but I thought he still was aggressive, did all the little things. But I think there was a little bit of pressing in for a portion of this basketball game, given the weight of the scenario, what was happening.
Yeah. Benter played 18 minutes off the bench. That was two less minutes than Oscar Clough. Like I said, the switch late was very much TKR at the five, Benter at the four. It has been shown that is one of Purdue's best lineups. It's actually not the best. The best lineup on this team analytically has been Clough at the five and Benter at the four. I don't recall seeing much of that in this game, but
Could not play Clough in this basketball game.
you couldn't play Clough in this game.
Couldn't play, and it was like, oh man, and I know back to the first half again, but so they were doubling TKR for the first for most of this game actually, right? It actually led to some good looks early on in this one. TKR had some really nice passes early in this one, and guys knocked down shots. They were single covering Oscar Clough for a good portion of the minutes that he was in, and I think he was 1 for 4 in this game. He was just smoking hook shots at the rim. Like and not like TKR level floaters. He was backing down, using his body and just smoking layups, basically. And doing that while also being slow-footed a little bit on defensively. And I think it negated things. But I was also in my head too that like one, Clough needs to make those. Like Reed Bailey should not be able to check you one-on-one. You're too big. You're a better finisher than that. You need to be better than that. Um, but two, there was also like I think in Daniel Jacobson's 14 minutes, they were like trying to force feed him, but when Clough was in the game, I felt like he had some seals where they could have threw it into him, even though he did miss a couple times. I thought they were great looks. Instead, they're trying to force feed Jacobson, who wasn't able to establish position, was getting pushed out. His hook shots were from way too far away. He wasn't catching the basketball. Um, he was, I don't know. It's tough for Clough because I feel like right now he's not giving you the defensive rebounding stuff, and also in a game like this where quite frankly, I think they disrespected who he is as a player by trying to check him one-on-one with Reed Bailey, that he wasn't able to finish in this basketball game. And I think that's what led to him getting pulled.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no additional notes. I think Painter is correctly identifying in real time that Oscar Clough is the main key to the problems defensively here. And if you're not getting the rebounding and offensive stuff to counterbalance it, which you haven't in 3 games, you can't do it. So in a weird way, credit to the staff late, I think, for going away from it for really the first time this year. And I think there's going to be big time opportunities for Benter. Speaking of Benter, in 18 minutes, 5 points, 1 for 2 from three. He missed a big momentum swing three late. But I mean, 2 for 3 from the floor. I don't think you can complain about that. He was flying around with 6 rebounds. He did have
Mhm.
3 fouls in 18 minutes. Maybe he would have played more if not for random fouls from Benter. But
He
uh,
had two in the first half, I know.
I'd give him an A for this performance. Like I still think the key to fixing all this might just be Jack Benter. Your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Besides the passed up three, I was good with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that big one in transition, which cut it to 7. Then they
Yeah.
went down the other end, and Fletcher got blown by foul, which kind of killed things. But yeah, I just think that Venter brings a level of athleticism, and I mean, straight up, I think he's just a better rebounder than damn near both Clough and TKR.
He has been lately, at minimum. And maybe that's just like when he switches on the perimeter, he's more agile to get back in the rebounding mix from switching.
Mhm.
Whereas TKR and Clough are kind of stuck on the perimeter when that happens. I don't know. But I mean, it's activity, right? On a team that's begging for activity and effort and connectiveness, it's noticeably better when Jack Benter is on the floor, regardless of who he's on the floor for. So I think Paint sees that. I think all the numbers behind it back that up. They have for 2 weeks. And I think that's where we're headed. Daniel Jacobson quickly. A lot of discussion online about DJ in this game. I thought he had some bright moments too that he's not getting credit for, but also this is Purdue's eighth guy off a 5 point loss at Assembly Hall. We don't need to be giving their eighth guy credit after a 5 point loss at Assembly Hall. So I don't know. Are you as disgusted with Jacobson as the internet seems to be right now? What'd you see?
I think I think people just need to relax and realize what he is. I think there's a lot of chatter coming off the U19 and a lot of chatter off the some of the games that he had of who he is. He is very much a developmental project. He will be at Purdue for a while. You hope he turns into something. But right now, he is way too frail, way too soft. And at the risk of this sounding mean, it's what it looks like when I watch it. He has two options. He thinks about it. He's like, should I catch? He's like, should I catch the ball and dunk the ball? He chooses one or the other, right? Either he doesn't catch it, or he catches it and then he doesn't dunk the basketball, or he throws up a hook shot from way too far away. Yeah, he's just not ready for Big Ten basketball right now.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. So I don't know what that means for the remainder of the year. If you are going to put Benter at the four, to me, that's going to mean less Jacobson minutes because now you're playing Clough and TKR at the five. And I think those guys are just better options right now than DJ. I don't mean this disrespectfully, but I do mean this as an observation. He looked like he'd fit in great with the Indiana front court right now. Like I just think him and Reed Bailey were kind of
I don't, at the risk of sounding rude, man. Yeah, I don't think he would have cut it last night for Indiana's front court.
him and Reed Bailey, just watching those two go at it felt I'm just like, yeah, this is those are the guys. Those
Yeah.
guys belong together. So
DJ's just not ready, and it's you having to take a step back from what we thought earlier in the season. It was like, oh well, maybe if Clough's not playing well, we go to DJ. Well, if DJ's not ready, then we go to Clough. Well, now both are giving us nothing.
yeah. And I do got to be honest, outside of Benter, that's kind of the whole Purdue bench. I mean, we came into the season being like, man, Jakari could be the guy. There's a lot of positive buzz. Not happening. DJ, like, man, there's a world. He takes the spot from Clough. Absolutely not happening. Like we were the loud. Our big miss was Omer. Man, I think Omer's going to start for this team by the end of the year. It's just not happening, man. So I think your bench is fine. I'm not saying the bench is bad, but this team has gone from like really great quality depth on paper to maybe not so much. Maybe you got six guys that you feel really good about, and it's gonna have to be the hot hand other nights. Okay, a couple big picture things real quick. Is the sky falling?
No.
It feels like it. Obviously, you've lost three straight. That's not something I ever anticipated we would say about this team. You're going at Maryland on Sunday, then you have a week off until Oregon comes to Mackey. I mean, as long as you avoid disaster at Maryland, you basically have a full 2 weeks since last night to regroup before you go to Lincoln and the really hard portion of your schedule gets here. I think it's a
Mhm.
good spot in the schedule for a regroup. Like you can take a little bit of a breath as long as you get through Maryland with a win.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're 2 games back in the loss column now from first place. So I don't know. I understand why people think the sky is falling. Where do you sit on this?
Uh, See, so can I play both sides here?
Yep.
Like, there's still so much basketball to be played. There are good players on this basketball team. You have a good coach. This is not the end of the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, three straight losses, compounding with a loss to your rival, and the fashion that it happened, 46 from Keaton Wadler, Donovan Dent, 24 and 12, right? Like that hurts, and the breakdowns hurt. Um, so the sky is, if you feel like the sky is falling, sure, because you're held to such a high standard. Also, it ain't over at the same time. Like you can feel like the sky is falling. Also, do something about it. Like there's things to be done about this. There's still season to be played here. This is not completely over. This isn't a lost cause. So feel like the sky is falling. If you want to, that fixes shit, do it. Like maybe you need the pain of the sky falling to be better. But it's still a long season, still really good. You still got Braden Smith, you still got TKR, you still got Fletcher Lawyer. You still got good players, you still have a good coach. They just need to play and coach better, and they are capable of doing so.
Yeah. Here's why I don't think the sky is falling, just quickly. I think there's a clear and obvious thing you can do that will yield better results than we've seen, it's the Benter lineup and go small ball. Now, I think it's really, 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 really funny and kind of crazy and ironic that in order to save Purdue's season this year, we are basically saying, let's go back to what we did last year.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, it's crazy. This was the preseason number one team that felt they were extremely limited last year that went out and got big things to quote unquote fix it, and now we're going to win a national championship. And now we're turning the page to February with three straight losses saying, well, our best chance is do what we did last year. That's just objectively insane.
Mhm.
It's also true, and it's also different than last year because last year you didn't have Jack Benter. And I hate to put this all on the shoulders of one kid in Jack Benter, who knows, in more minutes, if he became a starter, God forbid, on this team, I don't know what it would look like. But I know this, Jack Benter's been amazing. I know that all the analytics and metrics point to this team being a significantly better team with him on the court. I know that Matt Painter has realized it, and I know that he's already started adjusting toward it. So, I think he's still a huge upgrade. Like if you just sort of twist your brain from Oscar Clough is an upgrade over Caleb First. If you twist your brain from that being what changed this team for the better into Jack Benter is an upgrade over Cam Heide and Miles Colvin, I think it's true. And I also think it can work. But there are some big time, like look ourselves in the mirror and admit we got our identity wrong steps that need to happen before that. I think they're going to happen. I also think people underestimated, and when I say people, I mean everyone. People underestimated the troubles of Big Ten play. I say it all the time. Big Ten is a gauntlet. Purdue has not responded to the gauntlet well in the last 2 weeks. I know, and it sucks. Um, at the same time, right as we watched this game, I just saw your team get outplayed for 38 minutes by Rutgers. I just saw my team be outplayed for 38 minutes by, yes, an undefeated Nebraska team without their best player for the first time all season at home. Like, you are not alone having stinkers right now. The difference is the teams that win the conference find a way to win during their stinkers. Purdue hasn't done that. And I think if we all want to be honest here, it's a really uphill battle to win this league. It's
Yeah.
probably not going to happen, but it could. And more importantly than that, right now, I just want to look in the mirror and get back to playing good basketball. And I think there's a direct way to do so that has to do with making a personnel change.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, the conference is gauntlet, to your point, speaking about, what my team did against Rutgers, like that was very much in it. But also, you know, I think what separates certain teams is in moments of shit's not going right in adversity, what do you do?
Yeah.
And I think Purdue needs to figure that out because right now I think adversity hits them and they don't know what to do.
So here would be my pushback on that. And it's not pushback, but maybe reimagining. I'm trying to
Mhm.
reimagine things here. Derek in the Discord was saying this to me last night too. In fact, I'm going to use his words, and he might be mad that I'm outing him as the person who said this. So love you, Derek. Sorry. He thinks it's fair if we came on here and said this big three, Braden Smith, Trey Kaufman-Ren, Fletcher Lawyer, if we called them front runners. This is a Purdue fan saying this. This is not me. I pushed back on it, but said, hey, this is what I see. I see some guys that when things are going right, they always have a response. When things are going wrong, more often than not, it's been an excuse. I see how he feels that way. And, the main one sentence summary of why he feels that way, he says, they don't respond to adversity well. Here's the way I would sort of twist that and reimagine it. I think this team needs to stop viewing every game they're in that's close as adversity Like right now, it feels to me this team is coming into games and assuming we're the better team, we should win. It's adversity when, oh man, we're losing at Indiana right now. Like, sure, yes, by definition, that's adversity, but also Indiana's going to make the NCAA tournament and they're a tough place to play. Like, it's just so, oh man, we're down 6. Look at this adversity that's hitting us again. Maybe let's just reimagine this and maybe fixate on the idea that we need to earn our adversity, if that makes sense. Like, we aren't the team we thought we were. It's not adversity when this team's getting outplayed right now. That's what they deserve right now. And I think it would do everyone a really good development if we just sort of reframe they've got to respond to adversity into no, they need to play to a great level. Like, just play better. Just go out and play to the level of the team you think you are.
Mm.
Until we do then, it's not adversity when you lose games. Like, this is the team you've been for the last 6 or 7 games. It's not adversity. It's not. The Iowa game was not adversity. This is not adverse. And sure, you're losing, so it's adversity. But, like, I'm just, even that kind of baked in inherently is like, well, we're better than everyone. Go prove it. Just tighten up and prove it. Earn it. Earn your right to have adversity. And I guess that's my wake up call plea to this team. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but does anything I just said make sense?
Uh, I don't associate adversity with only good and great basketball teams. That's the only part about it. I just think that whatever word you want to use, I don't think the front running term is right, but this just isn't a team that I see right now when shit isn't going their way. They figure it out and find a way.
Right. All I would say is this. I think this team and everyone that follows and reports on this team is approaching it as if every time it doesn't go their way, it's a surprise. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to do this.
That's advert that's it. But
But
that is that it things aren't going my way, and it's this is not how this is supposed to go. Instead of responding because
right.
things are going
But
your way.
that's I don't maybe I'm saying this. I don't know if they're capable of responding to what they decide is adversity then. What I'm
Mm.
saying is this. Let's be blunt, and I'm sorry. I don't like that this has happened, but let's be blunt. Since Edie's left, this team has been good, not great. Last year's team, it was not adversity that bit last year's team. Last year's team was not a top 10 team in America.
Mm.
This year's team, every time they're in a close game, it's adversity. And I guess by definition it is, but I think you've got to recalibrate what not the expectation is, but maybe just realize this team hasn't blown anyone out in a month. Maybe this team isn't what we thought they were. How do we get there again? Maybe every time we get down in a game, it's not adversity. Maybe we're likely to get down in games. And you're right. They don't respond to it. It's the response that matters more than how you view it. But I think if every game you view, oh, we're not winning by 10, look at this adversity hitting us. This is happening every game to Purdue. That's not adversity, it's who they are. And we got to either change who we are or just play better.
Yeah,
That's my framing of this.
yeah. I'm not even saying the framing is incorrect. Like I feel like I agree with parts of it. I disagree with parts of it, but I think it's just us just viewing it differently. That's all
Okay.
it is.
Okay. All right.
Good on us. I think we're growing. That's good adversity right there. That could have been a Fletcher lawyer unacceptable moment.
Yeah, we moved right on. That's good.
Look at us.
Want to have a
Podcaster only meeting.
podcast for only meeting. Final two things. Thing number one, a reason for optimism, and then a reason for honesty.
Ooh, can I do my first reason for optimism?
Yeah.
Cover your ears if you don't like bad language. You got Braden fucking Smith.
Yeah.
I speak from a point of personal shit right here. I had a season go to hell and I had to lean on AJ Hogard. You know how much pain that causes a man? Y'all still got Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Ren and Fletcher Lawyer. I was trying to figure things out with AJ Hogard and Madi Sissoko. It wasn't fun. Strap your nuts. The sky is not falling. You said that already. But you have Braden Smith. That's a nice thing to have. That's a cool toy. Shiny. You go now.
The sky is only falling if you honestly thought this team was going to win the Big Ten by 2 games going away with it. Which, even as someone who thought they were the best team here, I didn't think that.
This is the fan base that refused to trade games. Remember
Right.
that.
It's just it's a recalibration here. And they could still backdoor their way into the league, but anyways, I digress. Reason for optimism. You can still win a national championship after going through a stretch like this. Not saying they will or it's likely, but UConn did it. The first year that UConn won the championship in 2023, UConn lost 5 of 6 games in Big East play, 3 straight games to Marquette, St. John's, and Seton Hall to fall 4 and 5 in the Big East. Things were bad. There were players-only meetings. It was all around horrible vibes and bad basketball. And then they got right. You just got to get right. And if that team could do it, I do certainly believe that this Purdue team could do it. Somewhere deep down, the team that destroyed Texas Tech is in there. I mean, that version of that team had no issues defensively, was flying around, had effort, was together, was unity, was making shots. That team is there. I don't know how they find it again, but they have to look themselves in the mirror and find it. Now, here's the moment of honesty that is on the other side of the coin of my optimism. Yeah, UConn did it in 23. They lost 3 straight games and then won a national championship. That was a once in every 10 years story, because I looked this up to see how often the national champion in the last 17 seasons has lost 3 or more games in the middle of a season. It's happened twice. And just to sort of reframe this for you, 9 of the last 17 times a national champion was crowned that national champion, their longest losing streak in the regular season was 1. Over 50% of the time, the eventual national champion doesn't even lose back-to-back games. 6 of the 17 times it was 2. 2 of the last 17 times it was 3. And it was UConn and it was 2013 Louisville. So I think, to be clear, you should use that as a point of optimism. It can happen. You should also be honest, and this is my whole point to everyone about just being honest with this right now. It's a lot more likely this team just isn't that good than this is some crazy, amazing slump. And I hope it changes. I think 15 out of 17 times history tells us teams that are that good don't run into this. So how will they respond is the question. How will these guys respond? Clock is ticking. And like you, I believe in them. I believe in all 3 of Braden Smith, Trey Kaufman-Ren, and Fletcher Lawyer to respond to this.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Should we address the very last elephant in the room, our podcast with Point Guard?
Probably should.
Should probably talk on this. So, totally understand why people are concerned. I had a couple people be like, you had to have seen these issues coming. To be honest, no. To be honest, and I don't know if it was naivety or what, I just didn't think this team would lose 3 straight games in this fashion. And regardless, if they were going to lose 3 straight games, I didn't think the third one would be on the road to Indiana. Like, it's just, this is about as low as humanly imaginable I thought this team could go. With that said, if you would have told me that this was going to happen, we still would have ran through a wall to support Braden Smith with what he wanted to do with his show. So we are capable of navigating and managing it this way. If you haven't been able to tell, while our mentions are being flooded with a ton of people saying, never podcast again, this is ruining the season, we haven't done an episode since before this losing streak began. We've intentionally been very careful and responsible about this. And just to lift the curtain, the plan 100% was do an episode last week. I think he canceled because he wasn't feeling well. Totally get it. The next week, we were going to do it after Illinois. And full transparency, I think we pulled the plug and said, you know what, given where this is at, let's get right. Let's get right and then return. We thought that would come in this game, and we thought it would be really easy to manage and move on. It didn't come. I understand why there are going to be vocal critics who say this is a problem. I can promise you this. It hasn't been. Like I think we've had 8 combined texts in 14 days about this podcast, and 6 of them have been, hey, let's not do it. So it is not a distraction. It never will be a distraction. At the same time, I totally understand why people are putting emphasis on that and acting like it would be. So trust me, my biggest priority at all times is protecting Braden Smith. And even this morning, I mean, we just texted him. Basically the longest text we've sent of like, hey, we are getting blasted for this. What do you want to do? Because if you want to do this, if this is something you want in your life, I think we can help you do it in a responsible way and navigate this. And honestly, from a listening standpoint, Card, I got to be honest, I think this would be really compelling and interesting to hear a player's perspective as this goes down. But at the same time, like we just flat out told him this morning, if this is at all a problem, a distraction, if you just flat out don't want to do it, we're not doing it. So I think, he hasn't responded yet. If he doesn't respond, great, we're not doing it. So I just want to get that on record. Again, I understand the criticism, but I can just promise you, like, this is a guy that I personally think the world of. The last thing I ever want to do is do anything that is going to bring negativity toward him or this basketball team. And we're handling this as responsibly as we can. Do you have anything to add?
No, I feel like you said all you could say. And look, I just want to reiterate, and I feel like you said this. If this is even causing any of an issue with Braden, the team, the coaching staff, shit, if the trainer doesn't like it, we'll stop it. Like that's not what we're in this for. We're in this just to give y'all an insight on Braden and the way he works. He's a great person, great listen, great basketball player. That's really all it is. Um, it's when we do it, it's an hour a week, and it is all kind of run through him, and we just provide him with the space, and that's all it is. So, yeah, no, I feel like you covered pretty much everything about that, but yeah, just to double down on that, if this, we should have asked Braden, we're like, if this, you let us know if this is causing any issues or anything like that, we will immediately stop this. We are not in the business to do that. We're not in the business to prey on Purdue's downfall and certainly not Braden's. And that includes the team as well. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like you covered all of it pretty much. So
Yeah. And if anyone's wondering, like, what does the communication look like? It's not, hey, when's the next episode? We need to get back on it. This is, we are here for you. What do you want to do?
right.
So, and I don't know the answer to that question yet. For people asking, like, when are you doing this again? Are you doing this again? Are you killing it? Um, it's up to him. So we'll see. And last thing, on a personal note, people have heard this story from me, I think, if you've listened for long. The entire reason there's a relationship between Braden Smith and Sleepers Media or Greg and Carter is rooted in a place of any of us being at a low point in this basketball world. I mean, the first time he discovered us was a low point for Purdue. It was also a low point for us because we were criticizing him. But then, we built that relationship as they lost to a 16 seed. And it went from, okay, these guys are like rooting on my downfall to like, no, they're not. They're like showing some support privately. And that's not to pat ourselves on the back. This is just to say, like, this entire thing was formed in when things were going wrong. I think a mutual respect and maybe communication pattern. Then you fast forward a year, I was at the lowest point I've been in the content space. I needed a break. My mental health was shit. Coincidentally, because I think the same burner accounts that are torching players on the team they root for right now were coming after us. And it got to me personally and affected me with my kids. And I hated it. I hated the person I was. It's the only week in 5 years of doing this that I questioned if I could keep doing this. And part of the reason I got out of that is because of the person Braden Smith is and the words he sent me unprompted to help me. There's no one better at dealing with this stuff than him. And if you think for 1 second that my or our approach when things go wrong is going to be to turn away from that relationship, say, you know what, we can't do this anymore, man. You don't get it. And again, our priority is him. If the best thing for him is to kill this, we're killing it with a smile on our faces. My strong suspicion here is that's not how it will be approached. And I think this is going to get on track in more ways than one. And I want to be remembered as the people who were there in the ways that actually resonate with Braden instead of in the, what, we can't do this anymore. He needs space, guys. He has our support to the fullest and always will. So, all right, there you have it. Anything else, or should we just click end record? Was that 2 hours on an Indiana loss? Jesus Christ.
Was it actually?
I told Indiana fans this would be 45 minutes.
Guy's not falling, even if the length of this makes it seem like it is. Just figure it out, man. Play better, shoot better, play basketball better. There's a lot. Did we make sure that was a portion of this? This all is better if you play basketball better.
Yes.
You don't like, I get it. Players only meeting, move furniture, do all that shit. Yes. Also, let's play basketball better because you're good basketball players. Let's do that.
And most importantly, this is all Kurt Signetti's fault.
Yes. Which?